Well, hey there guys, I'm Axel the Beast, and this is the Curiosity Shop, the ZeldaEngine.net video mailbag where I answer your Zelda questions. Our first question comes from Matt. What is your favorite game over scene in the Zelda series? Well, actually, I can't honestly say I remember tons of them because, you know, usually it's just, I don't know, they're very easy games, often, especially lately. Start, you know, just kind of incredibly easy, and it's not really that often you're going to get a game over screen, so I don't know, I'm just terribly familiar with all of them. But most of them aren't terribly fancy. I do remember them well enough. I think that, honestly, just because of that fact that most of them are just kind of just like, oh, you're dead, and this sad music, game over. I think that the most fancy one is the one I gotta go with, and that would honestly really just be Zelda 2. Or just, you know, the return of Ganon. You see Ganondorf, and there's that, you know, infamous little laugh. You know, I think that one, even though it's the only Zelda game I really haven't played, main Zelda game, that I've seen it, and that's just gotta be the coolest one. And tell me your guys' though. Alex the Beast asks, what's the creepiest moment in Zelda for you? The one that scared you the most? For me, it's the Shadow Temple's mini-boss, the Dead Hand. Again, this is a good one for everyone to tell me your scariest moment, creepiest moment, whatever. But for me, it's actually a little unusual, because I guess I've always been sort of thick-skinned ever since I was, like, a terrified little child. I guess I grew out of it. Just maybe that's what hardened me. And so, you know, like, stereotypically scary stuff never really gets to me. But I think I've talked about this story before, actually, the fact that it's actually Great Bay in Majora's Mask that creeps me out the most, because I actually am, like, it's sort of like this, like, it's not like I'm afraid of water, but it's like I'm claustrophobic, but it manifests mostly with underwater scenarios, like hard to escape underwater or whatever. So actually, I have a claustrophobic reaction to the Great Bay just because it's such an expansive ocean, and especially going out to Pinnacle Rock and diving down into that pit where there's all the sea snakes or deep pythons, whatever you want to call them. That just creeps me out. It really got to me, and I don't know, it's the most disturbing moment in any Zelda game for me, but it's a very personal thing, so it's not necessarily a terrific answer. So be sure to tell me your guys' in the comments. Jonatron asks, have you ever played Zelda fan games? If so, what is your favorite? Honestly, I haven't played a ton of them. I've like, tried out one or two, most of them not very good. There's only one I actually played very far, and I actually still got stuck at, like, the third dungeon, I think, which was, I think it was, like, Escape from the Dark World or something along those lines. That was the title. I don't remember the exact title. I've heard it's very good. I didn't get far enough to really say that for sure myself, but I thought it was very enjoyable. I can't really say it's my favorite, because it's, like, the only one I've tried out. It wasn't the best thing I've ever played, but it was enjoyable, and I'm probably going to play it again, maybe soon, because I'd like to get past that part. Be sure to tell me your guys' ideal fan games. I know Mossy's has been doing the Lost Isle thing, and that looks pretty cool, so I don't know. I'll have to play that sometime as well. Be sure to tell me what your guys' favorite Zelda fan game is in the comments. Alright, John asks, with Zelda 3D coming out, and it being after A Link to the Past, who do you think will be the main villain? Could it be Ganon, or do you think it's someone new? You know, that's a very tricky question, because honestly, we have no idea. We don't even know what the story is in the game yet. Just that it's going to be based in A Link to the Past world, basically, and it's going to come after, probably. It seems to be what they're going with their developer quote, whatever. Honestly, I think it's most likely it won't be Ganon. I just think it would be a little cheap to just revive Ganon right after A Link to the Past. I'm sure the villain is going to relate to Ganon. I'm pretty sure of that. But I don't know, like, I don't really know for sure. It could just end up being Ganon. It would be the most basic, most obvious thing to do. I just think that it would also be a little bit lame, maybe, just because it's already based on a game that already had Ganon in it, so I don't know. Link 5967 asks, do you think that for Zelda 3DS they're going to have original character designs, or do you think they'll just reuse the original Link to the Past's artwork? I'm not quite sure what you mean. Do you mean, like, they're just going to reuse the character designs, or reuse the artwork, whether or not they have the same character designs? As for the artwork, I think we're going to see no artwork. We're not going to, like, see them recycle the old artwork. They're going to probably do the same artwork style, honestly, just maybe with, like, more digital coloring and whatever. But I think we'll see new artwork for the game, unless everything's just going to be like rendered 3D models or whatever. I don't know. They'll probably have artwork, official artwork of the game, and it'll probably be in Link Past style, but new stuff. As for the character designs, I mean, obviously Link's design is pretty close. I'm sure we'll see a lot of very reminiscent designs, but I'm sure they're going to have some of their own little spins on it, and especially I think we'll see some new characters with new designs, whether or not Link and Zelda and maybe Ganon look pretty much the same. So that's my opinion on it. Mr. Linkston asks, since A Link to the Past 2 is being made, do you think the dungeons will be harder or easier, or the same as the original Link to the Past? You know, honestly, this is, again, it's not something we can really know. I would say that, honestly, just given recent Zelda, it's not going to be as hard as A Link to the Past. That's one of the hardest Zelda games. I mean, you know, the first one and the second one might be still the hardest, but A Link to the Past was pretty challenging, and no modern Zelda game has really even touched that level. I mean, really, honestly, think about it. A Link to the Past is one of the hardest Zelda games, especially if you stack it up to modern ones. So I really don't think that even though this game is going to be based on A Link to the Past, it's going to match that level. I just don't see that happening with the current climate and the current developers and whatnot. Could be wrong, but I just don't see it being quite as hard. I imagine it will be fairly challenging, though. Bearer of Courage asks, I was pretty excited about A Link to the Past 2 as it looks really cool, but then I thought, if Nintendo is making this game for the 3DS, does that mean that they're putting the Wii U Zelda game on hold? No. Honestly, they've always been making a lot of games like at the same time. I'm sure that they've got two different teams going. I mean, like, I don't know what their development setup is for this game. I'm not sure if anyone knows that yet, aside from Aonuma heading it, but I really don't think that we're going to, like, be taking all the resources to do this. Honestly, it looks like it's being developed as something that they don't need to use a lot of resources on to make it into a good game, so that they can focus most of their resources on something else. That's what it looks like to me, so I really don't think it's going to hurt the Wii U game's development at all. Yink asks, is Nintendo still going to remake Majora's Mask? I don't know. E3 Lencher asks, do you think that Zelda Wii U could be Skyward Sword 2? No. Juicy J asks, why do you think so many Western Zelda fans are seemingly obsessed with Zelda becoming quote-unquote realistic when it's such a high fantasy series? Well, honestly, there are a lot of people who don't like, you know, like stylized and cartoony or whatever the case may be, you know, visuals and whatnot. There are a lot of people that just prefer real-world stuff. So there's that aspect, and that's especially common in America as opposed to Japan, really. However, there's also the fact that a lot of people, I think, like, when people were excited about Twilight Princess, they perceived it as the same general look as Ocarina of Time, just, you know, like, better. And that's really not true, because Ocarina of Time was a very anime stylized game. It really was. I mean, the artwork, the official artwork is proof of that, but the official artwork style is carried into the 3D models as well. They have huge freaking eyes. I mean, come on. And it's a very colorful game in comparison to Twilight Princess. So really, it wasn't a realistic game. It was an anime stylized thing. And I think a lot of the reason that you hear about this so much is just for the fact that people do tend to think that it is an established Zelda style because Ocarina of Time had it, and it's really just not the case. That's my my thoughts on it anyway. I know some people do like the idea. I'm not a big fan of it, and I don't think it's necessarily a great fit for the series, but there are some people who do think it seems to fit, and I guess those would be some of the reasons why. Temporal Savior asks, how come Link's incarnation in The Wind Waker is capable of wielding the Master Sword as a child, whereas Ocarina of Time Link must wait until adulthood? I must know. Well, there's a couple factors here. I mean, honestly, the Ocarina of Time Link was a specifically prophesized hero. Maybe the prophecy dictated some specific sequence of events. We never really saw the prophecy. Who knows what it was talking about? Maybe it could have been all kinds of crazy stuff that we never read about in the game or heard about in the game. Who knows? And it could have just had some real specifics about just, I don't know, how things were supposed to work, and Link just had to be older. And it was also, you gotta keep in mind, a plot point for two completely different games. And the rules are just going to be different. I mean, it's the Legend of Zelda, not the perfectly written history of Zelda. So there's that. I think the best answer, honestly, though, is the fact that he had to prove himself in The Wind Waker. He had to get the Goddess Pearls and go through the Trial of the Gods in the Tower of the Gods before he was allowed to even go down to Hyrule and get the Master Sword. So honestly, I think the most of it is just the fact that he proved himself, and the Ocarina of Time Link didn't. He was just the chosen hero, and he was going to be given the sword, but he had to wait till they were sure he was going to be old enough. Whereas the Wind Waker Link, he wasn't chosen for anything. He had to prove himself, and once he proved himself, there's no point in waiting until he was older. So that's probably the best answer that I could give. Alright, Lusty Zebra. don't even want to think about that. Asks, what would you think of a Zelda game with a darker story, even more dark than Twilight Princess or Majora's Mask? I think it would be a cool idea for Nintendo to try in one game, but just one, or it could change the series too much. Well, I guess I just want to, like, I would wonder, like, what would a darker game than Twilight Princess and Majora's Mask be? What are you talking about? Are you talking about, like, hardcore violence and gore? Because that really just wouldn't work. It's a family-friendly series, and there's no reason and no way it would ever change in that. In terms of, like, storyline content, like, characters could die or whatever, I guess they could, and it would be acceptable if it was just one game. But at the same time, that's really easy for even that to take it into a higher rating. And honestly, I just don't see like what the point would be. I mean, like Twilight Princess and Majora's Mask had a lot of dark story elements. I mean, people die all the time in Majora's Mask. It just deals with it in a very mature and very pretty way, I guess. Twilight Princess has a lot of like really bad things happening, some really like cosmic horror kind of stuff with people turning into shadow beasts and whatnot. So I just don't see, like, what would a darker game entail, and why would you need it to be that way? Those are already pretty dark games that cover a lot of serious stuff, so, I don't know, I guess I just think it's fine how it is. Alright guys, that's it for this time. Be sure to send your questions to the contact information in the description, and I'll see you guys later. Danish Jakub asks, I would like to say thank you to Nintendo for making New Zelda 3DS Zelda A Link to the Past 2. Wow, my favorite best Zelda A Link to the Past, like Zelda A Link to the Past 2 for 3DS. Wow, please tell me more about Zelda A Link to the Past 2. I like used 4 games A Link to the Past and SNES, GBA, A Link to the Past, Zelda 4 Swords Adventures, and 3DS Zelda A Link to the Past 2.